Mr. Vivekanand, and Mrs. Saraswati, all our respected faculty members, and my dear colleagues. Thank you for joining us today. This is Rotaract Divyanshi, your host for today. I welcome you all to the Spirit Show, presented by the Rotaract Club of IHM-Hyderabad, in association with Institute of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the talk, please type them into the chat box in your control panel. I'll bring them up during the talk and we will also have time for questions at the end. Now, without a further ado, I would like to turn over to our today's speaker, who has turned adversity into opportunity, an alumni of our very own college, IHM Hyderabad, a TEDx and motivational speaker with narratives on gender, disability, and sexuality through her own blog, Payal Ki Jhankar. Worked at the then Krishna Oberoi before she lost her sight and hearing to a cerebral attack in 1992. After 6 years of partial recovery, she was back on her feet. She spent next 6 years of her life building, giving back to the blind and visually impaired community. Making her way into the hotel industry in 2007 with just a group of hotels and resorts took her back to her industry of choice. She worked as a relationship manager, which was very challenging and fulfilling experience, and ended recently after 12 long years. With a new career goal and vision, she now works with Mercury Medica. Training people in basic first aid and CPR is part of her new profile. She envisions taking these skills to the community of persons with disabilities to empower them. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms.Payal Kapoor.
Payal, you are muted, Payal.
I think our speaker is facing some technical issues. She'll be back shortly. Please stay here.
Okay, while she's able to come back, Mr. Vivek and I have taught her actually, and we are really, really very happy that she's able to join us today. And it gives us immense pleasure to see her actually rise. It was such a rude shock for us actually when we learned that she has suffered this attack and she has lost some of her the two important senses in terms of visibility as well as hearing. It was such a rude shock. She was very, very bubbly girl, and at the same time, I remember it was one of my very first few years, and those days I hadn't yet procured my own bike. We used to travel in the same bus, and we used to have such fun. In fact, she would make us such a ruckus in the bus also. And I would say, while I'm your teacher, and then if at all we are caught and we are asked to get down from the bus, then it will be very embarrassing for me. So she would say, no, ma'am, you are not yet looking like a teacher. You are looking like us only. Don't worry, we will pass you off also as a student. So we used to really enjoy, and at the same time, she used to reserve a seat for me. She used to travel a little ahead of me, so she used to reserve a seat for me. And then the minute I used to come into the bus, she would just go gaga, and then it was really fun. And when I learned that she has suffered this, really, I cannot express how much I cried within myself as to why God had to do this to this lovely, bubbly girl. Anyway, she has taught actually that we should be extremely grateful to God for giving us all the senses. And sometimes we forget that though we have so many things, we still keep cribbing and we keep crying and we keep wanting more and more. We should be extremely thankful for giving us all this, for making us a complete human being. And at the same time, I'm sure today she is going to take us through what all travails she had before she could be on her own. So Payal is back. Payal, I hope you are able to this thing connect now. We see that you are still muted, Payal. That's why we are not able to hear you.
Somebody call her and
Yeah.
help her.
Yeah. No, she has to. She has muted herself, so she has to. I think.
Mobile. She is
Uh,
talking in mobile. We can call
I
her
think
in mobile.
she's probably asking someone to help her out. I think.
Yes, yes.
Hmm. So Mr. Vivek may add a few things of how. And now I was really this thing, excited and surprised. Though I couldn't really. I tried logging in one day, and halfway through my battery ran down, so I could not see the program. Especially on YouTube, she has started her own. What is that? Rasoi ke Rahasya. So she has started that. She has started that. You see, I mean, how many multiple things she is into and what all, I mean, life has to offer. So truly, today's topic in terms of opportunity and diversity, it's really, really apt. And I hope all the students take the cue and work towards it, being positive, and at the same time, yes, it is this kind of pandemic is not something new. Almost every 100 years, if you look at the history, mankind has suffered. It could be nature's way of balancing. It could be nature's way of hitting us back. It could be nature's way of teaching us a lesson, however you want to take it. But then man has stood the test of time and has triumphed. Probably we should also learn the right lessons and then come out of this. Okay. Over to Vivek.
Yes, I was also utterly shocked when we heard about Payal, about losing these two senses. And then, see, people who are having in the present world all these proper organs and proper senses, they are not realizing the value of them. Recently, in this pandemic, we are seeing that mostly uh, the lungs are suffering maximum in corona. So all of us must have read this that one old gentleman, when the bill was presented to him in lakhs, he started crying. And then somebody in the hospital was asking him why he was crying so much. Then, are you falling short of money? Then he said, no, no, I have enough money to pay. Only thing is, all these days I didn't realize that just for taking this oxygen in the hospital for a few days, it costed me 12 lakhs. And God is giving us from childhood every day so much oxygen which we are not realizing. So that is the reason why my eyes started watering or wetting. That is what he expressed like that. If we see so many of these people who are challenged, they are excelling because they realize the importance of the various organs, and then how they should survive, how they should do best and all. Those are having everything. They are not realizing. They are wasting time. They are simply wasting money, not focused in right direction. So this particular session will definitely give our students some focus. If people like Payal can achieve and be multi-skilled, you just put yourself in her shoe and see that you can do 10 times better. In fact, you are not doing 1% of her, but if you compare to her and then see that you have all things with you, with which you can excel in this world. So definitely it should be inspiration for all of you and try to do well. So this is why I try to like Saraswati Madam and all try to connect her is so that we realize in this pandemic we are simply wasting time on simply watching wasteful movies or YouTube or and chatting on and wasting time. You should be focused to achieve in life. So what we have to do at present is we have to focus on developing our skills. Whatever skills you have right now, you have to fine tune. That is one thing. Secondly, tomorrow when you start appearing, see, this is a temporary phase in our life. It won't be there like this forever. Once this phase is over, you people are in a special era of this COVID. Yes, I think it is connecting to her.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, there's a lot of issue with, I think the keys are getting stuck or some problem like that. I'm sorry for delaying everybody. Okay, so, well, we are in Hyderabad, so delay is part of how Hyderabad works in any case. We have to start late. We cannot start on time. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me back home, because IHM will always be home. And not the fancy new beautiful building that you people go to, but the sheds and those asbestos covers and sitting on the floor and sitting under the trees. That is what was IHM to us. And I think we had some of the best years of our life over there. So we are all here at a very, very strange juncture in our lives. It's unprecedented. It's probably something that all of us would at some point have expected to see in a science fiction movie. We're living it today. But I have to tell you, life is all about change. Life is all about things that happen. And it'll continuously keep happening. But what can we do about it is the crux of the matter. It's not always easy to handle these things. And as I will be, walking you through my own life's experiences, over a period of it's 29 years now, where my life changed. And I would have never expected myself to be sitting here in front of you 29 years later. I would have expected an entirely different life for myself. But then, as for any of you who listens to the Beatles and John Lennon, he always said, life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. So that is exactly how my life has gone. To begin with, I would like to, offer my commiseration and, join you in offering support, condolences, and lots of, strength and power to everyone who's been impacted adversely by the pandemic and have lost loved ones, have had to deal with some very, very tough situations. I would like to tell all of you who probably the world says, be strong, deal with it. I would tell you, don't be strong. You don't have to be strong. You have to live through the grief. If you're grieving, if you're stressed, if you're tense, it's always better to deal with it, to let it happen, to let it roll through you, to take hold of you and allow you to then move with it. Otherwise, you're going to want to be strong. You're going to be bottling it up. If you remember, recovery is a cycle. Grieving is a cycle. It happens. Fall. Cry your heart out if you have to. And, you have to rail and curse at the universe, do it. But remember, when you come out on the other side, you will come out feeling better about having at least voiced it to the universe, at least told somebody that this is not how my life is supposed to go. Why is this happening to me? I did all of it, every single thing. I cribbed and cried and screamed and scratched for almost 6-7 years before I was able to even tell myself that I was alive. So I'll take you back to a time when I was a student, maybe in the first or the second year of college, that is like way back in time, 1987, 88. And at that point, we used to, there's the post office, what used to be our old building. There was a post office there, and I don't know if the building still exists. Or I think the VRC, the Vocational Rehabilitation Center, has a different name now, but the structure, the building still exists. So the Vocational Rehabilitation Center essentially was a skill development center run by the government for people with disabilities. So people came there with all disabilities. There were people that were blind. There were people that were, using wheelchairs, calipers, crutches. There were the hearing and speech impaired. There were some people with intellectual disabilities. So there were all sorts. But what we got to see when we used to sit around there used to be these little benches and culverts over there. And when we were in between classes and had nothing better to do, we'd hang around there in groups and sit and chat and things like that. And we'd see these people walking there very happily, happily signing away. One blind person holding a cane and leading three other blind people, one wheelchair user being pushed by somebody else. And I'd look at them. It would really impact me because what was my first instinct? My first instinct was, oh God, look at those poor people. I'd say like, oh my God, they are so, how are they even living their lives like this? How can they even be this way? I mean, this is not normal and it's so sad and it's so terrible. That was my first reaction to all of them. But did I even stop to think, were they really unhappy? Now that I look back, I don't remember even one person being unhappy. I remember them laughing. Even people who were signing to each other used to be laughing, clapping their hands, jumping around, and all of that. But to me, they were just an object of sympathy, of pity. But they didn't feel like that about themselves, obviously. What did I know? 2 years later, I was in the same place. In 1992, August, I had a cerebral attack that took from me all my senses. I lost my eyesight. I was 2 years into a wonderful hoteliering career that I loved at the front desk of the Krishna Oberoi. And it was it was a beautiful place to be because I had found myself as a human being, as an individual, as a 21-year-old girl. I had found myself over there because I remember at the time that I was in college, I used to always never want to do my front office classes because I used to be petrified, really scared. They used to say, okay, mock interviews, mock this, mock that, take reservations, mock calls. I didn't want to do anything because I had no confidence in what I'd be able to do and how I'd be able to do it. It was so scary. So I had decided in my head that I wanted to be a chef. Okay, not that I did like the kitchen. I loved the kitchen and I completely enjoyed it. But it was more out of the fear of not having to face people. To be in the front desk, to be housekeeping, you have to interact with people. You're constantly, coming in and out of people's rooms and their lives and things like that. What happens in the kitchen is simple. No? You don't have to do anything. You're not meeting people. You're happily sitting behind the scene and you're doing your own thing, not realizing that it really isn't such a party, standing in front of a commercial gas range and all of that stuff. So I had in any case decided that I wanted to do the kitchen. But as time went on, I realized that, was I really cut out to even do the kitchen? I mean, did I really want to do the work that we were doing? And when we went to our industrial release program, 6 months training, I went to the Murray Sheraton in Delhi, and that is what it was a full eye-opener. It was a come to Jesus moment for us because we actually saw what happened, and what was happening in the kitchen was something that I definitely didn't think I wanted to do. Then what was the answer? What could you do? What I'm trying to bring home here is the fact that plans change, lives change, decisions change. There is nothing that is fixed in life. And there's nothing wrong in changing your mind 5 times and finally arriving at something that you want to do, that you love to do. Now, again, I've decided what I love to do. I've decided what I want to do. But then life has another plan for you. Or for that matter, look at us now, today. All of us have careers, have had careers. All of us are dreaming of careers, but only a handful of us still have the opportunity to hang on to that career, to hold on to it and to be able to still live our dreams. But then does that stop you from doing anything? It shouldn't stop you from doing anything. going back to my story, finally, when I went for my interviews, I had all, campus interviews and full prepared and everything. Went in my head, believe me, till the time I walked into an interview, I wasn't certain what department I wanted to join, because I was still weighing the pros and cons between wanting to still do the kitchen and do something else and all that. So finally, first interview, Taj, and sat over there in front of them, and they said, which department? Something in my, somewhere, something spoke and said, front office. Did I want to do the front office? Of course not. Remember, I told you I didn't want to face people. But I did say front office. And all my interviews then went to front office. And of course, I did join the front office. And what happened when I joined the front office? I discovered a whole new person in me. I had no idea. I was such a people's person and that I enjoyed people so much. I loved meeting my guests and welcoming them and remembering their preferences for them to come back. And so much that people would walk into the hotel and ask for me if I wasn't on shift. They'd ask for me. So I had found a whole new me inside myself that I didn't even know existed. And that person is in all of you. It doesn't stop evolving. It isn't going to stop from any situation. I mean, it's not going to stop because of anything, a situation, an adversity, anything at all. It's not going to stop there because the evolution is of your. Are you ready? actually look at those things and tell yourself that, yes, this is what I want out of life. This is what I want to do. But I had started on a journey and I didn't know where I was going until I figured it out. It was 6 years of denial, 6 years of going through various treatments, going to every temple, mosque, church, every Baba, every Hakim, everybody that you can think of, many astrologers, many horoscopes, everyone saying, oh, but she's so young and it's not there in her horoscope. Who cares? Bottom line, I was blind. I was deaf-blind for a period of time. Fortunately for me, 6-8 months down the line, I started beginning to hear partially in my right ear. While I see the changes that happen and how people around you embrace the changes. Now, for my family, imagine, I'm the elder child. I had a sister who was 4 years younger than me, who had just begun her graduation. I had parents who had lives of their own. But what happened? Everybody put their life on hold for me. They figured out how they could communicate with me. They used to actually hold my hand and use their finger to write on my palm like you would write on a blackboard. And they'd write one word, erase it, write another word, erase it. And they used to communicate with me because I didn't hear. So what was done? They had reinvented something. They had reinvented their own lives. They had reinvented my life. That was the first beginning of my healing because I had support, I had strength. I had people behind me who were saying, you cannot give up. You just cannot give up. Life has to go on because it wasn't a choice. Even if at that point I had said that I don't want to live anymore, I want to die, and I want to this and I want to that, it's not my choice. So my choice was only to live. And I could have chosen to live miserably, or I could have chosen to embrace the moment, embrace my disability, and to live well. It wasn't all hearts and roses at all. It was an unbelievable change. Imagine closing your eyes. All of you must do that. Close your eyes and try and walk. Okay. You don't know where your step is going, whether you're going to walk on firm ground or you're going to fall into some sort of a ravine or something or a hole. You have no idea. You have to try looking for things for yourself in the cupboard and things like that. Close your eyes, you can't do it. I had to relearn how to apply toothpaste on my toothbrush. Imagine something as basic as that. I had to relearn how to do that. Things that I did so easily in college, all the cooking, all the baking, all the everything, those beautiful flowers that Saraswati ma'am used to make us make flower arrangements and things like that. Everything. Who knew? I couldn't even smell those flowers. It was a while before things started getting better. I started beginning to hear. My sense of smell started to improve. As these things started to happen, my confidence started to grow because I saw, it was very far away. It was very dim. But I saw small light at the end of that tunnel. That was my life. I had hit rock bottom. I had fallen one deep hole, hit rock bottom. What happens when you hit rock bottom? Can you go any further down? You can't. What do you do then? You start working your way up. How you do it? You first fall, then you claw your way up, you kneel, you slowly begin to stand, but you can't stand because you've not stood in so long. You start being able to stand slowly, and as you begin being able to stand, you reach out your hands for help. You reach out, you put up your arms, and you say, take me, lift me, take me with you. And that's when the change happens. Because what have you done? You've opened your mind to possibilities. You've opened your mind to something that is beyond your disability, beyond what life has offered you, beyond everything. You have awakened your resilient human spirit. You have opened your mind and you've said, I'm ready for possibilities. Let it happen. Let me do things Now, I reached that point not very easily. It took me a while, but I did get there. There was a lot of denial. I spent 6 years still believing that I was going to see at some point in time. But that was not the fact. It was not true at all. There was no chance that I was going to see. And I had, chosen to believe the medical fraternity that tells you, but you're so young, no problem. Your optic nerve is damaged, but those tissues will grow, things will get better, and all of that. So what does somebody, like they say, in this, you're looking for that straw in the storm. That's what I hung on to. I didn't look at the larger picture, which was the fact that I was blind, but I looked at that little straw that some person had told me that, but you might be able to see again. And I wasted 6 years of my life. Was that wasting? It wasn't. It is like what I'm telling you today, the phase of denial. When you grieve, you first deny the grief. I took 6 years to do that. In that time, my support system was rock solid. I had friends from college. I had friends from school. I had my parents. I had my sister. My mom we came back home from Bombay after whatever treatment, some alternate therapies and stuff that I did. And we came back after 8 months from Bombay, where I had gone for tests, and the country's most prominent neurologist had told my parents that your daughter is going to vegetate. There is nothing that we can do for her because her neurological system is so badly damaged that she's going to only be a vegetable. She's going to lie in bed. You're going to probably have to do everything for her. I can perform a surgery to do this, to do that. My father said, please don't touch her. I'm taking her home. If she has to vegetate, she will vegetate at home in the comfort of the house and not in a hospital. We came back home, but I was able to walk. I had begun to hear a little bit. So my mother said, okay, now enough time we've wasted. Let's get down to normalizing our lives, all of their lives. They had so much trauma for themselves. So they said, no, let's get down to doing things. So what did my mother first do? She put vegetables in front of me. She told me, okay, now you can start cutting vegetables. I said, but how can I cut vegetables? I don't know how to hold a knife. I can't even see it. What can I do? How can I do? She said, don't give me excuses. Hold a knife and start doing it. What works? Muscle memory. 3 years I had spent holding a knife, learning how to hold a knife, how to cut vegetable, what is the correct way of this, that, and the other. What happened? It's like riding a bicycle. It's a muscle memory. And within no time, I was cutting vegetables. And when I was cutting vegetables, what I hadn't realized in all this time was that I hadn't even bothered to notice how fabulous freshly cut beans and carrots and other vegetables smell. Because who had time? I was too busy doing other things that young people do. Did I even bother? I used to cut vegetables even earlier at home. But did I care how the beans smelled or how each piece of bean cut felt or everything? I didn't. Suddenly, I was noticing all these beautiful things. I was, touching when you cut a vegetable, the vegetable is wet because all the peel comes off and underneath there's the natural moisture of the vegetables. Did I even realize or appreciate it? No. Suddenly, I was appreciating these small little things. And they were so enriching. I remember still when I first held a bowl full of cut beans in my hand that I had cut, which had come out of the fridge, I actually cried because I was able to do so many things. My hands were patchy, remember? They were also affected, but I could feel the beans. What could I do? I could smell the beans where I couldn't have smelled the beans. I could touch and feel the sensation. What was it in my heart at that point in time? It was victory. It was gratitude. It was immense gratitude for the fact that I had reached a point in 6, 8 months, 10 months from not being able to do any of this to being able to do this. That was it. That is where life started. And things started getting better because, again, I had opened my mind to possibilities. I had told myself, if I can do this, I can do more. If I can do one more thing, I can do one more thing. And I didn't want to go out because I was scared. So I have this very good friend who was with me right through college and afterwards. And for many years, we've been together. We used to go to college on her bike, on her kinetic Honda. And she told me, hey, come, let's go. I couldn't see. She said, let's go. Let's go out. I'll take you for a spin. I said, no, I'm not going. She said, why? I can't sit on your bike. I can't see your bike. She said, what rubbish? How different is the bike? You put your foot on it and like you used to, you get onto the bike. You're not able to see, but you're able to hear. But it was so scary because I wasn't seeing and I could hear the wind rushing around me. I could hear vehicles around me. It was not thrilling at all. It was just scary. But it was that first time that I got from point A to point B. On the return, I was singing songs because I had decided that I was going to enjoy the experience. It was so wonderful. First time going to a restaurant to eat, come, let's go eat out. I said, no, I'm not going. It's embarrassing. No, you're not seeing anybody. You can't see anything around you. You can't see your food. So you're going to be, touching your plate and your hand is going all over the place and things like that. She said, don't be stupid. Come, let's go. Went to a Chinese restaurant. Believe me, I was scared that when I put the noodles in my mouth, the noodles will probably fall on my chin, on my lap, or end up in someone else's plate. All my soup was going to drip on my chin and everything. I was actually frightened. So when I finished eating that meal and I ate all of it, it was a victory. So what was I doing? I was celebrating small victories. I was celebrating small steps. The first movie I went to a theater to see was Lion King. I still remember. And when I heard the song Hakuna Matata, so it made so much sense. And circle of life. Life is like that. There is a circle of life. And everything that goes around comes up. All of us know that in one way or the other. How we decide to deal with it is what ultimately matters. It has now been 29 years. Like you heard, I went back to, it was more than 6 years. And I hadn't put myself, I was comfortable now at home. I was slowly beginning to hear more and I was doing my own things. But I wasn't satisfied because what was I doing? I was still depending entirely on other people. My friends would come, they'd read to me. I love to read. I used to be a voracious reader. What was taken away from me being able to read? So they'd come, they'd bring my favorite books and they'd sit and they'd read to me. My mother would read the newspaper in the morning to me. It was time, that was cable TV had just come in. So Star TV, Bold and Beautiful, Santa Barbara, Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi. How much of all that can you watch and for how long? I was so bored and I was so fed up of doing all that I decided that I would finally give in and go into active rehabilitation. Now, rehabilitation was another thing because I had to unlearn everything I had learned so far in the 22 years of my life. And I had to begin to relearn living life as a totally different person. I was totally different. I was altered. I was changed. I was not diminished ever. I was a new person. I was beginning a total new phase of my life. And that began with my rehabilitation, where first I started to read and write. I had to read and write Braille. That day, the computers, 1990, 92, 98, no computers. Windows 98 was still, in the making. So I had to read and write Braille. And it's very difficult because my sense of touch was still patchy. And it's very tough to read those little 6 dots and things like that. But I had my mentor was also a blind man. Independent, so fabulous. And he sat and he laughed at me. Every time I cried about learning Braille, big fat tears would fall. I can't read. He said, yeah, you cry and of course you'll be able to read. So he tormented me. He made fun of me. He laughed at me. But ultimately, he made me see that I had to open my mind to that change. I opened my mind to the change. I learned how to read and write Braille. Ultimately, What did I do? They gave me a job. What did I do? I became a teacher. I started teaching Braille, no less. I started teaching people how to cook because he taught me how to cook. I still remember the first time I cooked in my house. I lit the gas. He showed me, see, safety. You see, it's just a matter of changing your methodology about what you do. He taught me how to do things. I turned around things and I started cooking on my own. First time when we started doing the practice of cooking at home in my kitchen, I was going to make a bhindi ka sabzi and I cut up all the bhindi and everything. Now he came home and he made me put the kadai on top of the gas and everything. And he said, okay, here's oil, put oil, light the gas. The minute I had to light the gas, my mother walked out of the kitchen. She was so afraid where I'd burn the house down. But he showed me the right way of doing things, the safe way of doing things. And within no time, I was cooking. It was such a beautiful feeling. It was so fabulous to be able to cook again. And I realized how much I enjoyed my cooking. And then I was, of course, back to feeding people food, experimenting with all the things, not everything. It was slow. It has, moved over the years. And when I've started doing things, I became more efficient than everybody else in the house. Power cut. Where is the candle? Where is the torch? Where is the emergency light? I'm happily walking around the house without having to worry about light, no light, nothing. Go pick the candle for them and say, here's the candle. Now you can light. I can't find things in my cupboard. It's all gone. Where is this? Where is that? Wait, go there, put my hand in, move around 2-3 things, feel something, take it out and give it to them. So who was most efficient in the house? 3 sighted people? No. It was me, one blind person. So I had created, it was fabulous. This whole experience was so wonderful, only because I had decided that I would embrace change, that I would do new things with my life. And that continued because it was 7 years of teaching people, blind people, until I started. Then I joined the hotel industry. That was another wonderful experience because but initially it was interesting. Then later it got boring because I was doing sales and I was a person who had, rediscovered herself as a people's person. So I started learning how to use the computer. In the meantime, there was assistive technology that had come and it had all become like really available. So I started using a laptop like I'm right now, using something called a screen reader. So a screen reader is technology, assistive technology that is built into all your phones and everything. Like your laptops will have narrator. So these are more advanced things. Your mobile phones, Android will have something called accessibility. It's called TalkBack. And iOS devices will have something called VoiceOver. So that helps us use phones, everything. So basically everything that you see, I can hear. That's how we do it. And it kept moving on. I did a whole lot of work in the hotel and none of my guests knew that I couldn't see because I was doing sales. I was at a desk. I was talking to people and it was really wonderful. But in the middle, I also realized that there were other things I wanted to do. I wanted to share my life with people. I wanted to share how my life had been impacted and had been affected, but had come out on the other side. So I started, doing motivational talks. I started interacting with people. And because I was probably the only blind person in the country who had done hotel management, so I became the hoteliering guru because I was sitting there and people suddenly realized, Arey, she's done hotel management. Ma'am, how can we make rotis? Ma'am, we can't see. How can we cook this? How do you bake? I cannot pour tea from every time I make tea and I have to strain my tea. All the tea falls out. Nothing goes into the cup. How can I do that? Hot water. My baby has to be fed milk. I need to pour milk into her bottle. How can I do that? Millions of questions. And what did I find? I found that was exactly the place that life had chosen me to be in. My 3 years of hotel management that I hadn't had an opportunity to use the way I wanted to. Life was now offering me an opportunity to do just that. Do something that I love doing. I was interacting with people. I was using the skills that I had trained for. And I had created an opportunity out of an adversity. I had started looking at things differently. I had started doing things differently. So out of this entire experience came this beautiful chance to help people how to cook. I used to walk people on phone calls. They're cooking a meal, dinner. They're making something particular. The maid hasn't come, cook hasn't come, blind friends of mine. I want to cook this. Okay, how can I cook? Okay, on speakerphone, I'm cooking half a teaspoon of, okay, put jeera. How much jeera? Half a teaspoon jeera. Okay, I put jeera. Now put onions. How many onions? Chopped fine, chopped, all of that in full explanation. 1.5 hours on the phone for her to cook a meal. But what fun. What a beautiful bonding experience. Because at the end of it all, her husband was and listening to all that happiness and the joy of being able to share my knowledge was amazing. So I did all that for a long time. Aware of disability, aware of how disability is not the always, this is for your information as well, it is a person with disability. It is the person first and the disability later. I am a person with blindness. Who lives life like you do. What is different about my life? I live life differently from you because I have adapted my life to suit my limitation. My disability is only my limitation. It is a temporary limitation that I have learned to work around. That is what it is. And so pandemic happened. Jobs went. Everybody lost jobs. Everything happened. And I had to then, suddenly there were people with blindness and with disabilities that were stuck in various places. And everyone wanted to know, people didn't know how to cook. So I started doing webinars with them, telling people how to do the basics with whatever was in their house. Some had induction stoves, some had only a microwave oven, because all of these were people who were working in different places and had arrangements to get them food and stuff. But they couldn't do this. So we started talking about it. We started devising ways that they could do things. I gave them small recipes with how they could cook various things with whatever they had. Then out of this happened what I do today. That is my YouTube channel and my podcast called Rasoi Ke Rahasya. For those who don't understand this, it means Secrets of the Kitchen. I started teaching people how to cook. And not how to cook as in make a recipe. My job is to teach a person how to cook accessibly and safely. What is the best way for a blind person to optimize the space in their kitchen, to use their time correctly, to ensure the workflow is right? Everything that I have learned is now on my YouTube channel and my podcast. I did 2 seasons. I've had 1 season where I've done orientation, where I've started from orientation to the kitchen, to raw material, to vegetables, to fruits, to spices, to everything that a person can do, or a new person. So if a blind person can do it, anybody can do it. I've taught them to do all things. So my idea is to make them get their foundation right. Once the foundation is set, then it's easy to go ahead and use all those million recipes that are there on the net. Second season, I started doing things with them about methods of cooking. And so began my journey back into IHM, because what was I doing? I was sitting and looking on the net. I was looking at notes. I was making notes. I was trying to remember all of this. And I keep telling everybody who listens, I felt like I've gone back to college because I'm sitting and reading, blanching time, how much time you put your do's and don'ts, steaming your do's and don'ts. And I'm doing all that. What is it doing for the people with disabilities? It's teaching them how to do things right. Who has the knowledge? I do. Who's sharing the information? I am. What is it doing for me? It has given me a space that I never thought had existed, because I had opened my mind to another possibility. I had learned to do everything differently, and it was time I shared it with the others. So that is what happened. That is where the opportunity came in the adversity. I've faced adversity so many different ways, but I have never forgotten to be grateful for all the learning that I've had along the way. It's not been an easy journey. It's been very, very tough. Life is always, every time you stand, life hits you. I've had many other setbacks, but with every setback, I have gone down. It's not as if I can say I'm Statue of Liberty and I only stood and I'm fabulous, I'm ruling the world. No, I fell. I fell each time. I fell, went back again, hit rock bottom, but I came back up because I had a reason to live for myself, for the people around me, and for the things I do. That is how life happens. And I took to writing. I have a blog where I've written some stuff about, living my life with disability, with experiences and things like that. So it's an enriching experience. I think I would have probably lived a very ordinary life had I been a sighted person. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have been wonderful. It would still have been wonderful. But what I understand in 29 years of being a blind person is that my life is so rich. It is so filled with color. It is so filled with all the other senses. My 4 senses are on high alert all the time. I can probably experience a lot more than the sighted person can because I'm not dependent on my sight. I'm dependent on all my other ancillary senses that come to the fore and create an entirely holistic experience for me. I will close here. I'll give you people time to talk if you'd like to, with this very beautiful quote that I always speak of by Christopher Reeve, who, for people, I don't know if you know, he was the original Superman. And if you ever have heard of his life, at the prime of his career, he fell off a horse and he was left paralyzed neck down. But even after that, he made so much of his life. He started a foundation. He used to ride horses. He did so much before he died. So he said, when you first start dreaming, in the beginning, all your dreams first seem impossible. And then they seem improbable. But then when you summon the will, they soon become inevitable. So I'm wishing all of you just this one thing: dream. Don't let anything stop you. Continue to dream. Continue to dream. And believe me, your dreams will happen because you would have summoned the will to make them inevitable. So I'm wishing you all a lifetime of inevitable dreams and hope. And believe me, this too shall pass. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The platform is open for any sort of questions if the audience wishes to ask. Ma'am, I had a question. What is that one thing that pulled you out of the 6 years of denial that made you accept that, yes, this is how my life is going to be and now I have to, work this way?
At what point you say?
Yes, that one thing that, pulled you out of that denial and made you accept your career.
I just got bored. I just got completely bored of doing the same thing over and over. Like I said, I was watching TV. I had somebody sitting and reading the news to me. I had someone reading a book to me. If I had to go out, I had to be dependent on someone that was available. I got fed up of being like that, of being dependent on people. I got fed up of being bored and, doing the same thing. So I had to now do new things in my life. So I think that was it. You just reach that point when you know that this is it. I think that was it for me. I was just fed up.
Okay. Is there anybody who wishes to ask any sort of questions?
I won't bite. I promise. I won't cry also. I won't bite also. You can ask.
I guess that's a no. So on behalf of everybody present here, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your journey with us and teaching how nothing is an obstacle until we don't treat it like one. It truly inspired me, and I'm pretty sure all of us to put our best foot forward. And especially the part where you told us how we don't have to be strong and that it is okay to cry and grieve. Because in these hard times, many of us have lost somebody, and we loved. And yeah, thank you so much for that. Moving forward, we have a question from Akash Deep Srivastav. Uh, he asked, can you share your funny moments in your life?
Can I?
Share any sort of funny moments that you experienced in your life?
Funny moments.
Yes.
Okay, one funny, the best moment is when I was working. And since I was in sales, I used to have this once in a way. I had guests who, like I said, people didn't know I was blind. So when people came to the hotel, I used to sometimes meet with them. There were those that were very brave, okay, those that saw me as a blind person and realized that I was blind and sort of got over it. But there were those other people who would just stand and just stare at my face. They had no idea. I could be talking to them, but they couldn't respond because they couldn't get over the fact that I was looking at them and that I was looking into their eyes and talking to them. So those were some of the funniest. One of the best out of this was when I had a client of mine from outstation who had come. And when he checked in, I had left a note in his room asking him to join me for, drinks and dinner. And so usually what we did is whenever I went, one of my sighted colleagues went with me. And all the staff in the restaurant, in any case, was used to, I was there for 12 years. So they were all used to me being around the place, walking around the hotel and stuff. So we went. Now, this gentleman didn't know that I couldn't see. So we sat for dinner and, I stood up, I shook his hand and everything. And we were there before him and we welcomed him and everything. And we sat and we started having a conversation. All that happened. So I think somewhere along the conversation, because I can't always meet a person's eyes, sometimes, especially when it's noisy around and it becomes a little difficult. I miss things. My colleague was sitting to my right and this gentleman was sitting across me at the table. And I think somewhere little doubt had crept in and whatever. But we had this whole thing winged, between us in the department and things. We knew how to play this whole thing. So then we placed orders, drinks and dinner, and we told him whatever and things like that. So when the guy came to serve me, the steward came to serve me, he knew how to serve me because all of them had been taught that when you're serving a blind person, this is for all of you. When you're serving a blind person, the best thing to do is, of course, you have to ask them how they want it. But a blind person's plate is always divided into the clock. So you put one curry, you say mixed vegetables at 12 o'clock, salad at 3 o'clock, roti at 4 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, and maybe a dal or another curry or a non-veg or whatever at 9 o'clock. You can also make it at 2:30 and 3:30. There's no problem. So that's the easiest way. So when you're telling a blind person, ma'am, I've served you, don't say I've served you mixed vegetable curry. It's there. What do you mean by there? I don't understand there. It's at 12 o'clock, ma'am. End of story. So the guy came and served me. This person by now, of course, I got all this feedback after the dinner was over. So this person by now was completely, like he didn't know what had hit him and what was happening around there. So we started eating and I was eating Chinese, I remember. So I was rolling the noodles around my spoon and I was eating. And while we were talking, so there were long silences. I was wondering, so my colleague picked up the long silences and stuff like that, started talking. Finally, dinner was over. Jaise taise karke it got over. So we came by. When we hit the elevator, this guy burst out laughing. He laughed and he laughed. He said, you know what the guy was doing? Why there were so many silences? He said, because he was holding his spoon in his hand with his mouth open and looking at you eat. From the time you rolled your noodles around this fork, and he actually followed every movement of yours with his eyes till it went into your mouth, because he was waiting to see something else was going to happen over there, like it would explode or you'd suddenly everything would fall away. And we just laughed and we laughed. I don't think I've had more fun in an official dinner, because this was completely hilarious. The guy was so zapped that here was a blind person. He finally figured that I couldn't see, because he later, I think, called my colleague aside and spoke with him. And he said he couldn't imagine because he was saying that she ate everything. Her plate was clean and nothing fell. So that is how things happen for us, because we make spectacles of ourselves. And that is, I think, probably one of the most hilarious moments of my life, because it's so little people expect of us. So what can we say? So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now, moving forward, we have another question from Saurav. He is asking, what is your greatest strength and what makes you smile all the time?
I choose to smile. I choose to smile. Life is very tough. It's very, very difficult, but I choose to smile. And my biggest strength, I think, over a period of time, if you ask me in these 29 years, I think my biggest strength has been to accept the fact that my life is the way it is. And it's not always easy, and it's probably going to continue to be difficult, and it's not going to be easy. I have accepted that change is the one constant in my life, and that I have to move with that change. I have things happening to me every day, good, bad, and ugly. If I dwell upon the ugly or the bad, I'll never be able to do anything. So I choose to smile, and I choose to embrace the changes in my life. That's what keeps me going.
We have another question from Krishna. He asked that what is that one thing that motivates you the most?
What motivates me the most?
Yes.
People around me. I see such fabulous people if I say I can do something, there are people around me who've done so many wonderful things. Every step of the way, every new thing that I accomplish motivates me. It's a chain reaction. It puts me to want to do more. My friends motivate me. My family motivates me. And my need to do more for the community that took me in when there was nobody for me motivates me.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any more questions?
I think Madam Payal has some other 3 engagements also. She was quite clear that she has to get back by 3:30. It's almost past 4:30. It was an extremely moving life story of Payal. Such a jubilant, and at the same time, initially I was introducing you, Payal, when you were having some technical difficulty. I was telling about all the good times that we used to have and traveling together, as well as all the fun that we used to have in class. That was almost my first or second year of teaching when you people came in, and such a lively batch. And of course, those days the batches were quite small, 40, 50 only, so we knew everybody. And the group size was itself small, batch sizes were still smaller, so we used to know each and every person, all their pranks, everything.
I remember, gosh, such lovely times, Bam. I think how much we harassed you, I still remember.
I never
That's beautiful times.
look back at
Really.
harassment. That was wonderful days, actually. Our initial years, formative years, done by such lovely students, made us what we are today, because you brought out the best in us those days. And she did mention her friend, and I fondly remember and recall only one of her very best friend, Rivka Jacob.
Yes.
I'm sure she's still with her, and of course she must have made many more friends down the years. They were always together. I was a slim, tall girl. Rivka was slightly on the heftier side. I don't know whether there is that Laurel and Hardy I used to say always. So
we still have our group, the college group. We still sit and laugh at a lot of ridiculous things that we did. But I think that's what totally made us who we are. We were quite uninhibited and quite. I think that's why I said I don't think I'd want the college you have, as much as I love your building and everything, but I still think our college had character.
Yes. Because that old building had its own charm, of course.
Seriously, yeah,
those who passed out of that building, even if they come to this new building, they always want to go back to those fond memories and have a glimpse.
No, it's beautiful. The new building is beautiful. When we came for the reunion in 2015, we saw it. It's fabulous. But I think ours was the best. Our dining hall and our, ATK, PTK and all was so much fun anyway. So
No doubt
It
about
is. It just had its. I think we owe so much to to IHM for making us who we are today, and to give us the confidence and build us as human beings. It took us time to get there, but I think that was finishing school for us completely.
Wonderful. It was really very moving, and at the same time, the idea of making Payal share her story is to make sure that all of us should be extremely grateful. I would say extremely grateful for all the things that we are bestowed with. In fact, I just about put away my tissues because it was really very moving. And at the same time, we should be very, very grateful for whatever we have and not crib and cry, as I said earlier, about what we don't have. Look out for opportunities. Yes, we do find that many of the students in the last 2 years have not been able to get jobs and many other things. But there are other companies, other areas which are coming up. So let us not look at the negative side, let us look at the positive side, and let us learn a lesson from Payal, who this person's name has been ringing in my mind since the time we started about this webinar. She is the Helen Keller of our college. So we have our principal here with us, Mr. Sanjay Kumar Thakur, who is here, Payal. I'm sure he would like. He was also with us in the webinar. I'm sure he has few words to share. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you, madam. And I must say a big thank you to Payal ji for coming into the Rotaract webinar. And I've been listening her for last 1 hour or so. I think it's we read a lot of autobiographies about great people, and today we heard Payal ji talking about her achievements. It's been the life is not so easy all the time, but the great people always make way for themselves and keep progressing. And I feel Payal ji can be part of the Rotaract Club, and she can be a motivational speaker. At the same time, on the Wall of Fame, I don't know whether we have her details on. If
So we
not,
don't have. We will collect.
we should
We will.
and we should.
I'm
And
just going to
we,
collect. I'm going to collect volunteers for my work. I'm going to start making everybody do something for me for my Rasoi Ke Rahe. Everyone can. All of you all are studying hotel management. I'll make you all make notes for me and everything. Now wait.
They will, but Payal, to just reinforce what our principal is saying, he wants he wants your portrait along with your details on the wall of fame in the lobby of her college.
No. You just call me whenever you need something. Whenever you need some sort of change of mood or whatever it is. You guys can please reach out to me. That's not a problem. And if you think there's anything I can help you guys with in terms of just sometimes you just need to vent or you just need to talk to somebody. You can reach out to me. That's not a problem. I think Aditi has my contact number. Somebody can drop me a message. I'm here, and I think it's a privilege to be able to come back in this capacity. I think when I left college, I was a different person. A lot has happened since, but today to come back to the institution that is responsible for who I am today is, I think, the biggest privilege. And to be speaking with all of you is an amazing experience. So you all are going through some very hard times, but it won't last. Take it from me.
I have a question, Payal ji, to you. I think you said you have graduated in 95, right?
Sorry?
Did you graduate?
1990.
1990. All right. So the question here is on the health problem that you have, the meningitis. What was the beginning symptoms that you faced, and what, in case, what prevention can be taken in the early stage for these young students who are here and for us? How do we know about it, and what prevention can be taken in the early stage?
It's unfortunate. In my case, it was misdiagnosed. Meningitis was not diagnosed in my case. That was the unfortunate part. Meningitis is very easily treatable. There's absolutely no problem.
Correct.
I started with just a fever, just an ordinary fever. I had first had a stomach infection, and it was August. So you know how it is. It's the rainy season and things like that. Amoebiosis and all those things are waterborne diseases are very, very common. And, you're eating in the hotel cafeteria and things like that. So it's a normal thing. But I developed a fever along with it, minimum, just 100 sort of a thing. It's after that, the things that started happening was the problem. So what happens usually with meningitis, some people have high fever. Some people end up having fits as well. I had no such issues because what had happened in my case is that whatever infection had set in my spinal fluid, and it had increased the pressure because the infection was not curbed. It had hit the brain. So some of the symptoms that you will feel is, one is a stiffness in your shoulders, arms, neck, headache as in uncontrollable pain in your temples. You feel like your temples are bursting. There's this area it throbs and it's hot and it hurts. You can't open your eyes. It hurts so much. Then your entire neck starts getting stiff, like you've, slept wrong or something like that. But that stiffness continues to your shoulders, shoulder blades, and basically your torso region is in a lot of pain at the back, and right down the arms to your fingertips, elbows are very painful. So you have to, if you start developing any of those feelings, that goes beyond maybe a day or doesn't go with a painkiller or a balm or something like that, it's always good. Headaches are a very big giveaway as well. So it basically needs to be diagnosed. In my case, I was just unfortunate. Things had to go wrong. It was just meant to go wrong, so it went wrong. Because I wasn't able to find a neurologist at that point. It was raining and, the neurologist we were looking for was traveling. And the ophthalmologist I went to already when my eyes had started getting hazy, the ophthalmologist said, he examined it and he said that, well, you have an optic atrophy is what he called it. So my optic nerve had a swelling. And he said that you need to see a neurologist immediately. So we asked him, we said, okay, can you tell us which neurologist can we consult? Because he was a very, very prominent ophthalmologist in Hyderabad at the time and used to go to Apollo Hospital and stuff. He turned around and he told me, but I don't know any neurologist. I'm sorry, but I can't refer you to one. So ethics are missing. We are seeing that today also, unfortunately. The medical, we place the medical fraternity so high up next to God and all of them, but they're fallible and they're human. So, and it can result in very dire consequences like mine, unfortunately. So, but then I also believe it's just meant to be. I've seen so many people who've healed and who've become all right and gone. So, but be careful. Be careful. Rains, especially during the transition seasons, are bad because of virals and things like that. As it is today, we have a different enemy, but even under normal circumstances, those are good times to be careful. That's it.
Thank you, for the information. I'm sure the students must have heard, and do not take your health casually. Be careful and listen to people. Life can be very good if you if you talk to people who are much senior to you, who have seen more life, has got more experience. Spend time with them, and your life can become much more easier in the sense you will be able to manage your life much in a better way, so things becomes easier for you. So it's good that we had a long talk. Payalji, by the way, you must be remembering Sultan, a year senior to you.
Yes.
Yes, we worked together. Sultan, I'm a 88 pass out.
Oh, excellent. All right. Okay, small world. And I met Sultan a few months back. I mean, not a few months now. Before this pandemic thing, I met Sultan with Roy Joseph, another senior of ours. So I met him over there after years. I met Sultan. It was so wonderful meeting him.
Yes, and I worked with Sagar at the Taj Banjara.
Okay. I know, that's what I'm saying. The small circles, we're all right.
Yes,
and everybody's in touch. They're all here in Hyderabad. So everyone's in touch with everyone. I think I'm still in touch with my juniors who were my first years. Not so much the second years, but the final years, of course. Sagar's batch and Sudhakar's batch and
Yes.
all of them. So it's. I think there's so many fabulous memories about those guys.
Correct. So nice that I could see you on the webinar.
And it's so wonderful, really.
And we will interact again. And thank you to the Rotaract
Most
Club. And I must congratulate the Rotaract Club for getting an award from the International Rotary Association. They have done a lot of social work this year. They have done it before. And you'll be happy to know, Payalji, that we are one of the best Rotaract in the country now.
Fabulous.
We are doing a lot of social work. The students are genius. They're very innovative, and they have brought a lot of good names to our college. So, congratulations to Rotaract Club and all the faculty members who have been helping the Rotaract students. Over to you, Saraswati Madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Payal, and thank you, Rotaract Club. And I was also just going to add on that Rotaract Club has been awarded as one of the best institutions. Also, recently we have been awarded one of the topmost institutes in the country by GHRDC survey, global survey. So we are adding a lot of feathers in our cap, and at the same time, definitely we want more and more students to be dedicated and continue the good work, because as you have been saying, many of them are all-rounders, and then they have the potential, they have the ability to find out who they are, because this in the hotel management, it doesn't just make them chefs or food and beverage managers or front office managers or executives, but definitely it makes them an all-round personality, as we always tell them. So make the best use, and towards this effort only, the Rotaract Club also has dynamic second years, first years and third year students, organizing various events, also into a lot of social activities. Of course, because of the pandemic, they are not able to move out much often, but at the same time, they have been doing a good job all the time. And last time when we met, Principal was suggesting that we must get in touch with you, and as part of the Rotaract activity, we must have you as one of the speakers. That's how you are here, and thank you so much, despite your busy schedule and so many other things after your sleep. Thanks a lot. And as Principal said, I will be up to you, Payal, to get the details, and we must. Thank you, sir, for suggesting this. I'm sure this is one honor which we can do for our alumni. We shall have picture and details on the wall of fame, and we shall be in touch. And at the same time, whatever help you need from our side for your shows, I'm sure the students will be more than happy.
I will. I'm just waiting for things to ease up a little bit and start. I would love to come to college and actually be able to do some stuff there for myself more than. I was telling Sudhakar, Akshay also with Sudhakar. I told him, I said, I'm going to come. I'm going to make you shoot some videos for me, because those are ultimately things that make a difference. Home kitchen and a commercial kitchen is two totally different places. So
true. We shall be.
So sometime anyway, right now times are difficult. So we're just sitting at our desks and quietly creating jobs for ourselves at our desks. That's all. Get on to social media before the government decides to shut down social media also. So keep in touch and don't worry about it. Things will turn around, some point in time or the other. Later, some little later than the others, but don't allow it to dishearten you.
No, by December all Indians are getting vaccinated. So I'm very, very hopeful. 2022, we are back on the track. Maybe 2 months down the line, we are going to be normal 50 to 60% as far as professional activities are concerned. So just wait till July or August. I think maybe
it's just hanging in there. You have to hang in there. That's all. You can't get impatient.
Absolutely. That's the key.
That's all. No, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. The unfortunate part is that there's so much tragedy that has befallen so many people. That is a huge setback. So, like I said, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to cry. It's okay. Don't be strong. It upsets me when people tell people who are grieving to be strong. I don't want to be strong. Why are you asking me to be strong? So there's really no need. It's okay to grieve, but you just feel. Allow yourself to feel. That's all.
Okay, so let's give vent to our emotions, happiness, sadness, whatever it is. Let it come out and then let's celebrate.
Absolutely, absolutely, totally,
Let us
totally.
celebrate
That's
life.
because it'll fester otherwise. It won't heal, it'll fester, and it'll come out manifest in some other strange way. Why do you want that?
True, true, true. So Vivek, do you have anything to add on, Vivek?
Sorry?
Vivekanand who's here. I think he's muted.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Vivek, do you want to add on something before we close?
No, no, it was actually like very inspirational, and it is emotional, it is enriching. And especially in kitchen, we teach our students sensory evaluation and all. Once they prepare any dish, how they should evaluate and all. Here, Ms. Payal is the correct guru to tell how to sensory using senses to evaluate any product. When we are having all senses properly, we are not able to assess them except putting in the mouth and telling it is tasty. Not only tasting good, but the remaining 5-6 senses are also. I think Payal can definitely teach this particular topic.
It'll be fabulous. What fun it'll be. I'll happily blindfold everybody and make them
Yes. So you are the right person. We will invite you once for our guest as a guest speaker to talk on sensory evaluation.
Yes, I can do that. I'll be more than happy to do that.
Thank you, Payal. It was great talk and very inspirational.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dear all students, please take away all the things that she has said during the entire webinar. It is as Principal has been saying. In fact, he has been telling in all our staff meetings also, you must read autobiography. But really, today, the depth of the meaning of what he has been telling hit me actually. That is how when you look at other people's lives, we have a lot of takeaways. And dear young students, experienced people with whatever adversity, whatever challenges they have faced, if we read and if we are able to retain and learn something from them, definitely our lives will be far, far better. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Payal. And thank you, all students. Thank you, Rotaract Club members, for organizing this. We shall be in touch, Payal. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Thank
All
you.
the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.